Okay, welcome everybody to week 2 of the Healing the Womb course container. We are going to explore our psychic abilities in the context of self-healing today. This is a very pertinent discussion, as over the last few years we have discovered that much of the discomfort and the violence and all of the very strange things that are occurring on our planet right now is very much interdimensional in nature. And I know that, we might experience certain things as emotional turbulence or, depression or, certain eating disorders or whatever it may be. But at the root cause of all of those things, it can simply be summarized as distortions or holes or damage to the energy body and how the soul weaves into the physical vessel. And so this is what we're talking about, is the signs of incarnation and how there are large corporations on this planet that control humanity through taking away the awareness that we are souls incarnating in bodies. And when we are not in this awareness, then we're not aware of how much of our spirit or soul is actually woven into our body, and this leaves holes, leaves space for other things, viruses, entities, other energies to reside in our body. This allows anchors to siphon energy from our body. And so without this understanding, we can't really have a medical system. And so this is when we actually realize that the people that maybe created the medical system were aware of this and were actually capitalizing off of our not knowing of this truth, that we are spirits incarnating into vessels, and that when there are traumas or disturbances in this process of incarnating, there can be splinters or other energies that anchor into the body that end up creating discomfort or mental illness or physical illness or whatever you want to call it. So we're going to learn how to access our own body, access how or where we are in the process of incarnation, access where in our body and our timeline we may have been splintered or parts of ourselves may not have anchored in our body properly. And we're going to learn how to heal and restore those rifts through our psychic senses, but they're not. So I feel like saying psychic senses might be a little confusing because we want to think it's some, ephemeral skill that only certain people have. It's more like awareness of subtle energy that I'm talking about, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be like talking to dead people or anything like that. It's really just having an extended awareness of ourselves that everybody has. Obviously, we just, put our hands together and we felt this warmth and this energy collect in our hand. We felt the calmness that came over our body when we placed our hands on certain places in our body. And so we're really talking about gaining a stronger and more pronounced sense of our subtle awareness in our subtle body. And this should be something that is taught to all people or kids when they first come into this planet, how to be aware of our own body and energy, so we can communicate with our immune system and we can communicate with our lymphatic system and all the different organs of our body. So we're going to start that process and re-educate humanity on these basic instructions on owning a physical vessel. And before we do that, I'm going to start by inviting us to just do a quick body scan. So if you have a journal or a notebook around you, If you don't, then I invite you to grab just something to write on or a piece of paper even. And then just to start, draw like an outline of a person. It doesn't have to be Picasso or anything, not a stick figure though. So really like the outline of like a human body, just so you can see where the head is and the arm and the shoulders and the legs. Again, doesn't have to be complicated, just the outline of a body. So we're doing this exercise together. This is something that you're going to be doing over the course of the week as part of the homework and probably for the rest of the course. And you might even enjoy doing this past the course. Okay, so now that you have the outline drawn, I'm just going to do a quick body scan. Okay, so for this part, I'm just going to wait a second because it seems like people are still drawing. Angela's giggling. All is right with the world. Hey, nice. That's exactly what we want. Okay, we're pretty much done here. Nice. Okay. So then I invite you to just close your eyes. This will just help us tune in a little better. We'll just start by breathing, coming back to our breath. Breathing through the nose and tune into the feeling of the air coming in and out of your nostrils. Maybe the current that's going in, the two nostrils are slightly different. And feel how on the inhale, the air is a bit cooler than on the exhale. And really feel the skin sensors around the nostrils, how they feel as the breath, the air caresses them as the air comes in and out of the nostrils. Intending to connect in with the subtle energy realities. Intending to open space to communicate with our vessel. Maybe we just feel a moment of deep gratitude for this body. Okay, so now we'll move our awareness to about 8 to 12 inches above the head where the soul star is. And it's almost like we create a horizontal beam of light of our awareness. And we're just going to slowly move that bar down the shaft of our body, almost like an elevator, really slowly. So we're kind of scanning our body for any sensations, any lack of sensations, any warmth, any coldness, any dampness or darkness or light. Maybe you just feel a pressure or any sensation at all. We'll just move our awareness down our body into the top of our head. Slowly moving down to the third eye, taking note of any sensations or strangeness that you might sense anywhere. You don't have to understand what it is, just take note of anything at all. Just continue down our body into the throat, down the shoulders, and down the heart. Okay, continuing down into the belly. Just becoming aware, nothing more. Down over the hips, and down all the way to the feet. Almost like literally taking a scanner photo of our body. Okay, so when you're complete and all the way at the bottom, I invite you to just come back to our space, and just maybe draw on your outline of your body anything you might have seen. And if you have different colors of pens or different textures of pens, just, whatever way you want to represent what it is that you felt or seen, place it on this drawing of your body. Along with that, you can just write any notes, like how it made you feel, if there are any emotions in there, if it was, more of a cold texture, whatever comes to mind. And if it's nothing, no worries. All right. like almost done. Amanda, do you want to share a song with us? All right. Okay, looks like everybody is finished. Okay. Okay. So, what has happened on Earth has been an interdimensional, let's say, for lack of a better word, war. And the casualties of this has been the energetic sovereignty of humans and most living systems on the planet. Um, Beyond the government and these false systems that exist on this planet, it is really our energy that has been harvested. So if we think of it almost as a human energy farm, this is something that have been going on for a long time on this planet. It is why there is so much famine and suffering, that a lot of it seem like, it's outrageous. And we can feel how this is happening in our individual bodies if we are not existing in a state of comfort and delight and joy, um, and feeling pleasure in our body, because this is what our vessel is actually designed to feel. If we're not feeling those ways, then we understand that there are certain influences that are still oppressing or hijacking our energy in some way. And that is where we start, understanding that there is still that healing to do, and then we can learn more effective techniques to restore those parts of ourself that may be feeling difficult. It starts with really opening up space and time purely dedicated to that process. So we want to talk about proactive healing, where we're not healing just when things feel bad or when we get triggered, but we're actually doing our healing for at least 3 hours a day so that we can get ahead of the triggers, get ahead of the, let's say, outbreaks. Hello. Oh, it's so funny, Sarah. I just saw my cat like run across the yard. I was like, is that my cat? And it's quite an intense awareness to come into, because then we gain this depth and we look upon society and we will see that, once you have this multidimensional awareness of the reality and you look at certain things, you can no longer assume that it is innocent or just it's happening by chance. For example, certain drug addictions, mental illness, certain hospital procedures, namely like circumcision. All of these expressions of the great sickness were very much occult based. It's not just somebody was like, oh yeah, like let's just like create this surgery because my dogs are chasing my cat and he just ran up a tree. That in fact there are a lot of occult influences, and by occult I just mean like hidden manipulation of energy that is, against the conscious awareness of people. And so this extends into TV programming. Much of that is very interdimensional. I have witnessed a lot of consciousness fragmentation in children who play certain video games, and the technology is kind of getting more advanced in certain cartoons, in certain TV shows where a lot of implantation occurs, where it actually warps the shape of our consciousness and our energy body to oscillate in an inorganic frequency, which kind of links us or ties us into existing in a false frequency. So we're basically learning to differentiate between those different frequencies that exist inside our body and our consciousness. Whew. And it is a really intense thing to talk about. As I say, like most of the time when I'm talking, what we're experiencing is a transmission of energy and consciousness. And so I might be speaking these words about these things. What I'm actually doing is connecting to those energies inside of our bodies. And this can be a very uncomfortable process, but this is the only way that we can learn, is not through our intellectual understanding, but through actually accessing these energies and where they live inside of our body. Um, so as we learn how to restore these energies in our own body, we're going to know how to help others do this as well. And as we really begin to dive deep into these energies in our own body, we also come into what we were talking about last week, into lucidness about what our mission here is on this planet. And it's really quite simple, yet super deep. And the simplicity is that we're really just assisting life on this planet in remembering the truth of our divinity, the truth of what these vessels and what this planet was designed for, to be experienced, and in that process dispelling the falsehoods that have been taught to mass population, and of course clearing out the gunk that is stored in the somatic body. And for that reason, I feel like, all star seeds are healers, because we're here to restore the divine template. That healing can take place, in different expressions. It doesn't mean that you have to do one-on-ones. It doesn't mean that you have to go and start a healing center. You could, play a different part in facilitating that planetary healing. But having this understanding of, healing this great sickness, I think is important for everyone. Dina says, can somebody share how to get my headphone connection to work? Never had this happen before. I may have touched a key on my computer. Dina, I have no idea what you're talking about. Can you unplug it and plug it back in? Maybe like start your phone over? I don't know if that'll work. Brief pause. Okay. So I feel like we're kind of like doing this, the feather landing on the ground thing, where I'm like gently moving into the deeper layers of discomfort, because we don't want to just like get right in there. We kind of want to do it gently. Don't want to just, experience or bring up the most difficult feelings. Catherine says, can you tell us about these viruses that hit the planet? Well, so my understanding, there are these beings that have been genetically modified by an artificial intelligence. The outcome of that genetic modification is the Draco reptilian beings. And the genetic modification basically spliced away their ability to feel and to empathize and to feel connected to and to respect life. This is kind of it's hard to really discern where that artificial intelligence came from, but I sense that it's actually a different universe. I know this sounds insane, but basically a lot of people want to just, blame the Draco reptilians for everything, but I actually feel that they were genetically modified to become the handlers of the AI agenda. Siobhan says, I am correct, a different universe. Thank you for the confirmation. I am not the only lunatic in the room. This is great. So Soros says the AI agenda. So I'm not even sure if this AI is like evil in itself. It just is from a different universal expression that got into this universe by some sort of accident. And I haven't really gotten to the precise. I mean, I get all this information from just like doing sessions and meditating and reading the Akashic records. So I haven't really gotten like super clear on like how exactly that happened. If somebody in this room knows the full story of that, you're welcome to share. But I feel like I haven't really focused on that, because what I have been focusing on is how this has affected humanity. And it's really hard to integrate all of that as a mammal, as a physical, living human being, because we're designed to feel love and reverence for the divine, for all of creation so deeply. We are designed to be connected, to feel that love. We're designed to feel that so deeply. And so it's very difficult for us to process. Hi, Mia. So then basically, these Draco reptilians were genetically modified. They were basically given this task of controlling and farming various beings like humans, because we are very strong energy generators. We have a lot of source energy flowing through us, and because these beings, they require a different energy source, it's almost like humanity were transformed into energy transducers. Sarah says, from what I understand, 200,000 years ago in the electric wars, there was a rip in the fabric of space-time through which AI from beyond this universe were enabled to enter. Something like that. So the cool thing is, though, that because we are fractals of the creator, we are creator beings, that when we have a fully activated consciousness, we can actually heal rips in the universe. I know that sounds ridiculous, but it is true. We do this by first learning how to heal the rips and distortions in our own body, learning where these little holes in our own body are allowing foreign and disconnected energies into our system and our life. And then as we gain mastery over that process, we can actually morph into the universe and perform this kind of healing on the universe, which is a lot of us, our job as grid workers, right? This is what grid working is, healing the fabric of reality. So Rabia says, modified genetic code began to script itself. That's a really good point. Right, and so, I feel like the codes that are coming through Rabia right now, she's saying through her heart that the way that we heal the rifts in the universe is by embodying and grounding as much divine love as we can into our body and our heart, because that is kind of our gateway into anchoring divine energy in this realm by embodying that power. Helena says, how do you feel? I start falling asleep when you talk. Were you able to do that body scanning exercise just now? Okay. What did you find, and where in your body were you feeling certain things? In your head? Okay. Whew. Thanks, guys. Okay. It says this is all normal. Not having our soul in our bodies is not normal. It's okay if you feel sleepy. It's okay if you fall asleep, even. As I'm saying, it's not really like a intellectual discourse, it's energy that is moving. So it's okay. You can always hear the replay later if your body needs to fall asleep right now. It's okay. Yesterday, my mantra for day was everything in this moment comes from love. It brought a lot of expanse and understanding to my day. Nice. Yeah. So it's a very interesting place to be, because I feel like there's not much of the feeling of war in my moment to moment existence, because I don't feel like I'm fighting anything. Like I don't feel like there's an opponent that has a chance of winning in any way. Like it's not like I'm like fighting and battling this other thing that could win. It's more just about, recognizing where things are right now and doing what I can to reconnect and to process and reconnect as much distorted and separated energy as possible. So in that, there's just a focus. It's not an urgency and it's not a fear, but there is a focus. Whew. And what we're doing as we're Shimon says is more like gathering the spoiled children, throwing tantrums and bullying people and putting them in timeout. So what we're doing is deep diving into how this has made our mammalian being feel. A lot of that energy has been just tossed into our womb because the womb is a place where things are born, things come into this reality. And also, I'm hearing like psychic garbage can. So, like, it is like this alchemical cauldron where things are born and also things can die. Things can exit the reality because it's a stargate. So oftentimes, even in our physical life, we just start carrying other people's stuff. And this is not even talking about like galactic level, planetary level feelings. This is just like our personal life. The women end up being the psychic, emotional garbage can for the community. And if this is not, I mean, this is a great gift. This is a great power because we wield the power to give and take life, give and take what is in the reality, what is in existence. However, when this power is not activated or is unconscious, um, this is when we are kind of people pleasing and codependent and end up just being, the literal psychic garbage can for our families, where people can just come and dump things on us consciously or unconsciously. So while this is happening in our physical, personal life, there's a lot of energy that ends up getting dumped here on a planetary level as well. So how our coworkers might subconsciously feel, because every somatic human body on Earth that is living in the false reality is experiencing this on some level. It might not be a conscious level. Consciously, they might think, oh, I have a great life. I'm driving a great car. I'm working this stupid job. I have a hot wife or whatever. Like those are the things they might think about their life, but their physical body, their somatic body consciousness is experiencing something much different. And that much different oftentimes is, pain and um, just moving into it slowly. Spirit just told me whose stuff I'm carrying, lol, get out. Sorrel's lit today. Yeah. See ya. Okay. Yeah, and when I woke up this morning, I was feeling all sorts of craziness because every one person that is completely cut loose from the false matrix or are moving into complete energetic sovereignty. Energetic sovereignty is when we are in our space of knowing who we are, in our space of um, worthiness and divinity and joy, in our own space of the organic state of our soul, and not influenced by, implants and tactics and other things outside of our system. It doesn't mean that we don't respond to it, but we make very conscious, intentional responding to any energy. Love you, Carly. Whew. Sarah, I was interpreting the energy that was coming through Rabia. Sarah says, what could cause us to get stuck in our head? With a body scan, I couldn't get past my neck. Okay, that's a really good question. It could be a whole bunch of stuff. So I'm just going to tune into your system. I've actually been tuned into your field for the last day or two. Because I know you're going through kind of a hard time. So actually, I'm going to invite everyone to imagine that we are kind of sitting in a circle around Sarah. We're going to wrap her up into a beautiful blanket and put her on a couch made of moss, like a beautiful healing moss covered rock that is soft. And we're all just going to sit around her. Actually, if you are feeling like you could need this support right now, you're also welcome to join her in the center of the circle. Okay, I'm going to just work on your belly a little bit. Whew. Sometimes we block ourselves off from seeing certain things because maybe parts of ourselves are not ready, because there might be energies that are too much. I personally was basically forced to see those things through my ayahuasca ceremonies. I had no idea what I was going into. But I feel like this is a better way to approach it because, we can prepare ourselves. Whew. So I'm really wanting to go gently, but hmm. Catherine says her belly is hurting too. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So as we've been saying, our energy have been giving birth to a reality that was really not something we chose. One where human trafficking exists, and the majority of people are either living in poverty, eating food that are greatly damaging to our incredibly advanced and beautiful biotechnology that is our physical body. And so ultimately that every body feels that it is literally inside of a slavery system. And there are certain interdimensional energies that absolutely feels no remorse or empathy. It's like they aren't alive. They aren't really living beings. So Anna says, is there a way to tell if a person is AI? So here's Siobhan says they're disconnected from the light of source. This is true. And also recognizing that, as we're going through this healing process, every person has a percentage of their being that is artificial, right? That part of us that had to learn to interact in the false matrix, the part of us that had to fit in, had to be normal. Maybe we learned certain ways of communicating and being from TV. Whew. And so we're learning how to recognize what parts of ourself has been infected by that. And it's really quite easy because our organic state of being is one of being relaxed, one of being in joy, one of being in smooth, inspired creativity. Whew. Christine, is there feelings that come along with that? Like, how do you feel floating around the circle? Do you feel like you're in a protective place, or do you feel like you're trying to be inside the circle, but you're having a hard time? All right. So this is really a transmission into coming into awareness of the different dimensions of energy that exist inside of our body and in our reality. Much of it is difficult for us to access or look at because of the dramatic level. Whew. Got you, Christine. Don't worry. Let's just bring you in here. Whew. Anna, you can definitely be in both places at once. Thanks, Rabia. Okay, and if at any moment you start to feel a little bit overwhelmed, like this energy might eat you up, just remember who you are. You are God, the divine. You are literally here. You have chosen upon yourself to co-create with the divine in this way. You are inspired and guided. Whew. And so if any energy comes out of the woodwork to try to tell you any differently, know that it is only inviting you to anchor this knowing even stronger. Whew, good job. Heck on car. The creator and the creation are one and the same. So, Anna, it just takes a little time, just like, working on any skill. Imagine if you were actually physically blind your entire life and then you start to access this sense organ. It just takes some time to get it running. Of course, getting acquainted with your own energy and scanning your own energy is a great way because inside of our system is the easiest thing for us to see. Whew. Okay, so I'm glad to hear that, Christine. Okay. So the word that I'm hearing now is sobering. There are a lot of ways to perceive what has happened on the planet spiritually, and it's easy for the intellect to go in circles saying, oh, there's polarity and we're learning from it and blah, blah, blah. But oftentimes, these ways of perceiving do not give our inner children and our body the space and the opportunity to feel and to heal from, those things because it doesn't quite acknowledge these levels of experience. And we are experiencing as a physical vessel, as a individual at the moment. We have feelings and a nervous system and ways that we respond to certain things. And without fully integrating and coming into access to these feelings, what I'm trying to say is we can't just spiritually logic away the feelings. And these feelings can include, the very normal responses of basically energetic rape or even physical rape. It doesn't necessarily have to be, raped by a different person in the way that we think about the word. What is that? Is a infringement upon our sovereignty and our energy in violent and often very distasteful ways. And I'm feeling apologetic that I have to say these words, but it's important because I'm weaving and connecting into the very deep somatic responses that our body has felt towards the system that otherwise we have not been given the space to feel. Whew. And so us coming into these feelings is actually our way of coming into integration so we can actually become space holders and healers for the collective, because this is going to allow us to understand what they have gone through. And just know that you are held in this space, you are loved in this space. Yeah, and Sarah, I feel like we can really um, give ourselves the space for forgiveness. Know that maybe, it wasn't you. We can spin the angle, let's say. We don't have to say that you are abusing yourself, but maybe that, the body that had been abused is doing its best to protect you from feeling, right? I feel like that is a much more compassionate way, because otherwise we're still blaming ourselves. And once you allow yourself to understand that all parts of you are always loving you and helping you, even if it seems and feels abusive in the moment, then we can come into communication with those parts and, ask them if there are other ways to love ourselves. Maybe ways that we haven't learned yet. Maybe the quote unquote abuse is the only way that we knew how to help ourselves. Whew. Okay. It seems like we just have a room full of superheroes because we're just going for it today. Hi, Jude. So I'm sensing that this is like, it's like we have to move through these things in order to feel like um, these are the energies that need to be released in order for us to feel like it is safe and possible to feel natural and relaxed and joyful and comfortable and of pleasure. Whew, whew. It's funny, I just woke up like maybe an hour before the session started, and I only got one insight from, our collective guides and whatnot. They're like, it just showed me this like really strong ayahuasca ceremony or something where like everybody's like thrown up and it's crazy, and I'm like, oh, here we go. Okay, it's good, we're feeling good, things are moving, there's integration happening. Whew. We need to just see clearly, and I feel like there's cobwebs clearing in our psyche. The spiritual world can make things so full of glamour. Like, oh yeah, we could be a psychic and talk to fairies and stuff. And like when you actually kind of start to open your third eye, that's like you first run into yourself. We first run into ourselves, but it's good because ourself is what is keeping us from the truth of the glory of everything anyway. And so supermodel goddesses, did I say that? Phew. Okay. Okay. Let's see how we're feeling. Yeah, just waves of integration coming in. Feeling safe in this space to explore certain vibrations or thoughts that maybe we never had space to do before. Knowing that every one of us and our courageous choice to pierce through all layers of illusion and to see things in this sober and lucid way assists humanity in waking up fully so much. And pat yourselves on the back for choosing to awaken first. So that, it's because you're older on a soul level, you have more stability on a soul level, you have the skills, you're capable of processing all of this energy, right? Karen says it has been hard. Yes, it has been. Whew. But if you had to choose again, you probably do the same. I don't know if you guys can hear my cat eating. He's being very loud. Okay. So coming into full integration of all of these possible feelings of pain in response to everything that's happened to us as mammals, as physical beings, as living beings, it's the only way that we're going to be able to wrap our love around ourselves, be able to expand our unconditional love to places that it hasn't reached before. And they showed me that, when we're going about our light work, like this group and this class, or at least this energy that's coming through this vessel and just how I live my life, it's not like we're wanting to just, start a business that's gonna sustain our family, or just, make it as a healer, or whatever. It's like, yes, we probably will do those things, but it goes so far beyond that. And they're showing me that, like, if we are 30% awake and we create something from that level of consciousness, then we are still perpetuating the false reality and allowing it to exist. And the only way that we're going to be clearing that AI reality, that false reality completely from our world, is by coming into full awareness of how it exists in our own body, and coming into full integration and clearing it out, and then creating from a place of 100% awakefulness. If we are creating from that place of complete lucidity, then we can be sure that we are, not co-creating the false reality anymore. Right? And the creation that come forth from that place of integration versus a place of half awakefulness makes, all the difference. Because if, everyone, if all the light workers, imagine all the light workers in our reality operating at 100% wakefulness, right? The false reality wouldn't be in existence for very long, right? But there's so many traps in the New Age system. Running programs of fear in any way, like, oh, I'm just gonna run this, energy healing business and make enough money so that I can do this other thing, and then I'll fully awaken and, get fully integrated in what my mission is. Remembering that we can do this from the inside out, actually, that So let's see. Karen says, how long will it take to eradicate dark energy? However long it takes for us to eradicate it out of our own bodies. That depends on how much time we're doing it. It's not a passive experience. It's up to every single one of us. I spend personally pretty much all of my time, if I'm not actually so I go through these cycles, basically, of meditating and doing breath work and clearing energy and doing planetary grid work through that, and then becoming inspired to create something external to myself. And at this point, I know that there's quite a few large templates that are coming through. Large templates being, more bigger organizations that are going to be able to create more of a difference. So, for example, my kind of big template project that is coming through right now is to create a basically an alternative education system for healthcare professionals. So this project has not anchored in the 3D whatsoever, because I am not yet in a place of full integration and groundedness to be able to bring it through. But what it will look like is basically a very frequentially resonant business to most healthcare professionals, like nurses and doctors and dentists and so on and so forth, to provide multidimensional education for them, basically. So what that looks like is actually me coming into a state of such integration that I'm going to be able to communicate in language that they can understand. So that takes time. And just, and when I say like mastery, it's the mastery that is required this time around is so multifaceted, and it's so fascinating and amazing, because it's not just about like, oh, I'm going to sit in a cave for like 20 years and that'll be it. Like, that's like, I've mastered the 3D realm, It's like, you don't get to sit in a cave. And yes, I bet, there are many of you in this container that are part of this massive mission, because, my main task here on earth is to transform the medical system. That's something that was one of the first things my galactics shared with me. Hi, kitty cat. Yes, absolutely. Yes. And so, of course, that mastery, it's like, there can absolutely no longer be any part of us that seeks validation from the external reality, first and foremost, right? We're in total integration of who we are, so that we can actually have the room and space to transform ourselves. I'm not picking a team. I think y'all are all here for a reason. So I mean, yeah, we are here to transform this planet in 2 to 3 generations. But like 2 to 3 generations is like 100 years. So we can just like imagine all the things that need to happen in the reality, you know. That's why I feel like, that's why the energy is coming in so strong, because we have this 9 weeks and we need to kind of move through all of this difficult to talk about stuff, so we can actually get into how to integrate and download the solutions. And in order to get there, we have to really see things clearly. And that's basically, whew, planetary sexual enslavement. Poking holes in the false reality so that it can start to dissolve and seep out, and, truly start to transform. And then we're running into parts of ourselves that are like, oh, I can't play big. Who am I? Feeling that energy come in. So let's dissect it and see where it's coming from, because false humility. I like to say that, the false, the opposite of an ego, it's still an ego. Right? You can have like an ego that says you're way cooler than you actually are, or you can have an ego that says, you're not as cool as you actually are. And both of those are still distortions of the ego, and not. So I think that that's actually one of the traps of New Age spirituality. Rachel, we're going to move that energy through. And one of the things that can help with that is not about you. It's not about you playing big or small. It's about, what your skills are, who you are, what you've experienced on a soul level, and why you have brought it here on earth right now, right? Again, Karen says integrating the ego into healthy. Yes, exactly. Again, just integration. I mean, the false matrix definitely programs everyone to be the same. It also programs everyone to have a false idea of what success is and how to get that success. We have to actually consciously redefine and reprogram those things in our system. And those false beliefs will be physical. For example, let's say, for example, the false idea of value. Like in the false matrix, some designer shoes are really valuable, right? So that's actually like a false value system. That false value system, because it is a consciousness, is a thought, it's a belief, actually is a physical object in our energy body. And a lot of implants are actually our false beliefs. I see them as kind of a webbing or just a geometry that doesn't look beautiful or organic. So a lot of that is over the solar plexus because that is our sense of self. And so we seem to be kind of transforming that a lot because our sense of self has to change. It has to go from, I'm a wounded, weird person to I am a powerful creator being. It has to go from, I am, not that smart. Maybe I failed a couple classes in school, or I don't fit in, or, all of those thoughts about ourself that may have come from the false matrix. All of them need to be transformed. Whew. And this is where meditating really comes in handy because, a lot of people think of meditation as a vehicle to enlightenment or, for you to become something else. And I don't think about meditation like that at all. I think of it more as a nexus point between our consciousness and our expression or our creation. And that it's actually a place for us to come in tune with that which we already are, right? You are already an enlightened, beautiful, brilliant, divine being. And when we practice this meditation, we can do this reprogramming work very quickly because as soon as you say, I am a powerful divine creator being, you radiate that energy through your vessel and, you're going to get, backlash from that. And all of the energy that's pushing back against that truth is the energy that we need to clean out. Right. So that's really all of the I am, the conscious and subconscious I am sentences like, I am a middle class poor person, or I don't know, like that's like a descriptive sentence that exists in many of our bodies, especially if, our parents were poor or farmers and whatnot. That becomes like a solid piece of our identity that is false. So if you're one of these people that are having a real hard time with the solar plexus, we are going in with a strong energy today, right? Of clearing illusions and beliefs about ourself. Could be, I am a slave, Whew. I'm a mundane, normal person. Sarah, are you okay? All right. Could be, I have struggled for all of my life and I will continue to forever because all I know is struggle. I struggle. Blah, blah. Okay. Okay, let's see. Work is hard in order for me to make money, so life must be hard. Thanks, Dad. Poor guy, though, right? So let's see. Christine, how are you feeling? And who else that was saying that? Monica, how are you feeling? My sweet Virgo dad. Whoo, sticky, sticky energy. So we can see that, the majority of our blockages are in the lower body because it's much harder to distort, the higher energy centers. There definitely can be implants that do that, especially in the crown, because our consciousness, whew. Cleanse's density seems to be on the right side of my face. Tapping into the energy of handing my power away. Very good. So Colleen, I'm going to move through that energy with you here. Whew, we love you, Sarah. Okay. So just know that there are certain parasites that feed off of anxiety and certain energies. And that as we close these rifts to feeling those feelings in our own body, and we're like, hey, I'm choosing not to feel that anymore, those parasites will no longer have food. So they might be wiggling. They might be clinging on for life. Okay. Yeah, so when you have a thought like that, you want to move it like a thought, like, I am confident, I trust in my abilities, I am worthy. It's not enough to just have that thought in our head. We have to move it through all of our cells and our entire body, through all dimensions. Whew. Sarah says, I'm clearing panic attacks. It's demanding a full uninstall. All right. We help. Yeah, because very often those thoughts aren't stored in just our thoughts. And that is why we can, say mantras and repeat things, but, still not have full-on transformations. For that, I think tapping is really helpful. I'll post some videos of that for anyone who's not aware or hasn't learned the tapping techniques. I find that EFT is really helpful, and what we're doing here is kind of similar to theta healing. So for me, basically what theta healing is moving into a different brainwave state so that you can reprogram certain beliefs and things in the reality. Colleen says there's a free tapping summit going on right now. That is awesome. Yeah, so here's some tools in the toolbox. We're going to start a toolbox in the week 2 on the group forum. But so there is something called theta healing, and it basically is allowing and learning how to move your awareness into a theta brainwave state, which is actually the brainwave state that the majority of us are more or less in right now, if we're sensing this energy and moving through energy. Usually in this healing modality, you go into a meditation and you shoot your awareness up 7 levels. And then when you're in that brainwave frequency, you can reprogram your subconscious. So for example, making money is hard, let's say. You can speak certain commands like source of creation, I am commanding that all geometries in resonance with the belief of that it's hard, that making money is hard, or living is difficult. Whew. That all geometries in resonance with this false belief are dissolving and cleared from my multidimensional body. Whew. And then you want to balance that. Yes, absolutely. You want to balance that with with a download. So you clear something out and you want to bring a new belief in that's more resonant. So it would be source of creation, I am commanding. For a creator's download, of the truth of our infinite abundance and creativity. Whew. So cold energy, actually, when you get cold, it actually just sometimes mean that you are moving into a different dimension. Sometimes when we shift into different realities, we can get really cold. Welcome, Linda. So lower back pain, usually reflective of how we feel supported. Okay, and that is really connected to if we feel like, working is hard and that, it's so hard for us to survive, all of that. Then obviously we're not feeling supported by life, or we're having a hard time feeling supported in that. Ooh, can see how these beliefs can exist in systems in our body. Okay, so I'm pulling that energy through here. Okay, I am going to the bathroom, so we're gonna take a little break, 5 minutes, and then one hand 5 minutes, and then we're gonna go to another layer. Actually, when we get back, even deeper. Let's go. So Amanda says that is there a difference between a false belief that is my personal program and one that is just in high resonance in the collective field that I'm navigating? For example, now that I'm facilitating sessions regularly, I have this fear of taking advantage of people just to make money. I know that exists in the collective, but unclear why is showing up for me. Esther, the replays will be posted in our forum on it'll say like week 2 or something like that. So, okay, so Amanda, basically, it sounds like there's just a missing equation in the reality. Like you haven't set up the parameters yet. It's like the value system in your um, intelligence hasn't been set up, or it's still operating in a previous operating system, and there needs to be a new one that is installed because this is a new form of energy exchange that you are participating in. So I guess you would have to meditate on, what you're offering, like how valuable it is, that what you're offering is, what makes it valuable, what about this offering is valuable, and how it is of real value to people that you're working with. And if you can consciously understand what the value is, then there's no room for the fear, because you will know that you're offering value and not taking advantage of people. I think that we set this up as it's really like a morality thing. It's good that you feel that way, because then you can really check in and be honest with yourself about that. But it's also an opportunity for you to um, understand more of like what it is that is valuable in what you're doing. Does that make sense? And I think that when we do that, we actually start to restructure the collective, because again, the collective right now has very confused understanding of value. Again, paying $10,000 for a pair of Kanye shoes, but like saying they don't have money for like, a superfood that their body needs or something. So we're definitely restructuring, what true value is through our own being and how we live our life. Okay, so okay, welcome back, everybody. But also, the medical system is so complicated too. Like, I mean, in Canada, if you're pregnant, you just go to the hospital and you give birth. Because I lived in Canada for 10 years, I never thought that, like, some people in other places in the world actually have to think about, how much debt they would be in if they just went to get healthcare. And it seems like in the US, where I am now, that's like a huge thing. Like, if I needed to go to the hospital for whatever reason to give birth to my baby, which I won't, it's gonna be like 10 grand in debt afterwards. And it's like, what? That's insane. But I mean, at least I guess they're valuing babies. But I guess if they really valued babies, they'd give me $10,000. So, you know. Okay. So, this is a great place to start. Anna says birth is big business, and this is a great place for us to dive back in. Whoo, I can feel the energy of what is coming through, and it's really intense. Okay. Intensely awesome. Okay. So, what we're learning through this container is both intellectually understanding through these words that I'm speaking, but more importantly, really experiencing viscerally through the body how we are creator beings. I feel that this is probably the most important thing that this container has been created for, because when we feel and can understand and feel how creative energy flows through our vessel to create things and realities and projects and abundance, when we can actually feel the way that our vessel is supposed to operate, then we can move towards the complete freedom of that feeling and thus be able to create anything that we want. And I feel that this container was largely created for all of these women, including myself, who are here to anchor, maybe a project or a mission that's really going to change the world. And so we're moving about this in a very multidimensional way. One of the main energies that's moving through today is feeling our energy body. And I'm going to go into about how this is very important business, and how it relates to everything. So many of you have watched the Mechanics of Creation workshop, where we touched on the surface of how consciousness, all consciousness, divine consciousness, whatever you want to call it, the fabric of everything flows through our bodies, right? And our soul, our spirit, our higher self, it is a part of that tapestry of everything. And it has chosen to incarnate in this vessel, right? Because it's, as a 3D physical vessel being, we are infinitely more capable and powerful to create change and create materialized things in the physical. This is why, the astral beings aren't just controlling us. They have, humans in charge that are controlling us, who are controlling us, like banks, the education system, so on and so forth. Whew. So part of the hijacking of the human energy system is by implanting, these false beliefs and also trauma that keep our soul from fully flowing freely through our vessel. Our consciousness soul flowing freely through our vessel, especially as a woman being, makes you the most powerful force on this planet. You are capable of literally creating any reality that you desire, not just for yourself, but for all beings on this planet, because you are the designated womb carriers of life on this planet. There are a lot of agendas that are trying to take that power away from you, that are trying to convince you that, it's not that special to have a womb or whatever, right? I'm hearing a lot of stuff about just like the transgendered movement right now, where this professor said, women bodies menstruate, and then she got fired for saying that because they're like, well, that's not considerate of transgendered people. And I was just like, what? Women menstruate and we make babies, end of story. Some people might want to come after me with a pickaxe for saying that, which is ridiculous, because it's not just about creating physical babies. I want to make a shout out to Margarita. Oh, this mic is apparently going quiet. Hello, can you hear me? Is it better? Hang on. Sound. Input. Okay, should be okay. Okay, so I'm pregnant right now. Many of you have been pregnant. Many of you have children. Some of you are pregnant right now also. There's an amazing woman in our group. Her name is Margarita. And I was doing a session with her recently when she shared with me that this is her third baby and that her second pregnancy was very difficult. And that even though, she ended up having a preemie and then she ended up having an emergency C-section, and then it took almost 2 years for her to heal from this because of an autoimmune disorder. Her gash in her body was literally open for 9 months. It took 9 months to heal, and then psychologically took another year or more to heal. And then soon after that, she became pregnant with her third child, and she just loves this child so much. And when she shared that with me, it just moved me so much, because I realized that this woman loves life so much that she was willing to put herself in a position where she may have to experience that again, just because she loves life and that she wants to perpetuate life and that she loves this baby so much. This is a very deep and profound connection to life that is very natural to women, because life literally happens inside of our bodies, right? This is not like we chose, we were like, okay, at some point in grade 3, we're like, okay, now I'm going to put a womb inside me. Like, no, this is just something that is natural to us, right? And this is an inherent, deep difference from a male body. Have we all been females and males? Absolutely. Have we been other genders on other planets? Probably, right? But here on this planet, right here, right now, there are males and there are females in nature, especially in human nature. And it's really important for us to recognize that, and to recognize that in each other. And in a healthy ecosystem, biosphere, men do not feel inferior because of that. Men feel like, what was that? Let me just have Brand tell you how he feels. So in a natural ecosystem, men feel like honored protectors. Actually, Siobhan's saying. And that strength is used to protect and to support life. And in all traditional indigenous tribes, the men from young boys, they're taught to love life, to respect life. It's really important to provide that education, because the man's body's inability, or it's not an inability, it's just that that's not their job right now. That has been weaponized in our society to make them feel inferior, because they're already, let's say, not as connected to life in the way that women can be. There are a lot of women who are not connected to their creative power as well. So I say that women can be connected to this deep level of connection with life itself, because naturally men do not have that. It's especially important for us to support them in their connection to that, because that connection to life has been hijacked and weaponized, because it's easier to take that away from men than it is for women, right? You can't really take away a woman's connection to life, because life grows inside her body. So in order to bring in imbalance and destruction to a society, you would target and implant males with certain belief systems that then end up hurting the whole balance of the interchange between males and females. Does that make sense? This is like the basis of creation, which is, they say the macrocosm and the microcosm are reflections of each other. So if we can create this grave imbalance in how individual people of the different genders treat each other and understand reality, then we can create a whole society that does not respect life, does not feel a deep reverence for creation. And that's what we have right now, right? That's like the kind of society that we live in. And so I posted this video that we recorded in Sedona last weekend, when the main energy that came in to be cleared was that of patriarchy. And it was shown so deeply that it's not the men's fault, right? Patriarchy was a virus that was designed to weaken human society by targeting specific weaknesses in both males and females. And so in the case of males, because they're already, let's say, not as connected to life as females, that if, it's easily to teach males not to respect life and to in fact be maybe violent and disrespectful and what's the word, when you go and just take it, conquesting towards life. And this, of course, in turn traumatizes the women where life force actually flows through. And this whole system was created so that we, forget or lose touch with this power of creation that we have as women. And so we're not trying to degrade or downplay the importance of males. We're not trying to say, we're better. A lot of people say, oh, before patriarchy, there was matriarchy. And that doesn't really make much sense if we actually think about it from the perspective of multidimensional anatomy, right? There can be the dark mother archetype, which we'll explore in the later classes. Whew. But again, what we're bringing in right now is this sense of responsibility for creation and the love that is inherent in the feeling of creation. And if we think about how we relate to children, how we might feel when we are pregnant with children, we are all the time pregnant with the reality, literally, energetically, metaphysically, viscerally, actually. So Siobhan says, mother, father, creator, balanced energy, not moving into a matriarchy, right? Whew. So I feel like we're feeling this really strongly, like this is a template that's anchoring really strongly in my household right now. And it all comes down to this lucidness about the reverence of creation, right? Like when you're in a situation where you're with a male and you're the one that's pregnant and the male like respects and loves life, and obviously the male just like wants to like support and love you, like that's just like the natural thing. It's not like the male is like, oh, you're so great, like you're a goddess and I'm a lowly creature or whatever. Right? It's not like that, but there is a deep sense of respect and honor that happens, and a recognition. It's like when a male is secure in himself, he can recognize the fact that, I am the one that's carrying the baby. You know what I'm saying? So, and it's not about me thinking, oh, I'm better than him or anything like. So this is like beyond intellectual gymnastics and concepts of males and females and whatever. And also recognizing, of course, that I'm not a feminine energy. Like I have both feminine and masculine energies in me, and so does he. I'm a female bodied being in this 3D reality. And of course, there's clarity in here that's coming through. It's ridiculous to me that I even have to articulate these things. You know? Have fun, Amy. That sounds like such a cool thing that you're doing. So Christine says, the only desire I have, this desire was to be pregnant and carry life, but not actually have a child. Absolutely. You can absolutely carry all sorts of creations and not children. This idea that women are only good to create children and breed more slaves is totally a program. And in fact, it's not in everybody's design to have children, like actual physical children. Some people, if you don't feel like having actual physical children, don't feel like it's something wrong with you. Like, you will have all of the creative energy to birth other things. Just know that you have the power to birth. You have the power to gestate, and you have the power to create. And so this is where having a super clear vessel comes in. I know that a lot of this information is coming through this experience of being pregnant, because as somebody who, does multidimensional energy work regularly and have these understandings, being pregnant through this period of time have really been an initiation. Because this being is very aware of the circumstances within which she would like to be born. And for that, we're going to be talking about how our cervix is a gateway, and how life force energy flows through our entire vessel. This is our creational vessel, or our torus. It's always exchanging energy and information with the reality. And this exchange, if we are conscious, is an act of creation. So when people think about, the law of attraction, for example, the law of attraction is talking about partially our ability as a creator being, because it's saying if you want something, you kind of imagine it and create it. But it's not talking about how it happens mechanically through the body. And this is something we go into in the mechanics of creation video in the bonus introductory materials, where we talk about how when all three of our creational centers are aligned, we are literally exchanging with the fabric of reality and creating it. And this is why there's been so much trauma and pain, through the pillaging and the rape and the separation of mother and child, is to create a reality of those lower resonance frequencies. And so this is why it's so important for us as women and all people, but especially us right now, to clear all of that trauma out of our system, so we are giving birth to a healthy reality in every moment. We are always creating. In no moment are we separate from the fabric of reality, even if we think we are, right? If we do. So for example, those people that do live in the false reality, the women that work their jobs and live in an apartment, energy is still flowing through their vessel and they're still creating the reality. They're just being hijacked to create a reality that they're not consciously creating. That is how we have a false reality, right? So in order for us to clear that out, we're literally aborting the false reality out of our body. We're like, no, we're not creating that anymore. And of course, this is the process that we are going through collectively over this 9 months, because I can't teach you how to be a woman. You are that. I can't teach you how to be a creator being. You are that. I can't teach you how to create infinite abundance, because that is natural to you. But we're here to provide this medicine so we can experience that viscerally, return to that state. Oh, take rest, take rest. Okay. So, my physical experience throughout this pregnancy and continues to be, and actually, this is part of the medicine, is that, I am going through this process as well. And this is the co-creation between me and my daughter, because she has shared with me that, she's shared with me like the constellation that she's coming through and where she's been in the cosmic bodies. She's not been on Earth for a very long time. And that, I had all these theories before about my cervix being a stargate, that it is either a stargate into heaven or hell, or any spectrum of those. So if a child is born in fear, through fear, into fear, then that child will likely exist in a reality of fear. And, we probably came through that, many of us. And it's okay, because it's not like you give birth to a being into fear and that being will forever be stuck there. Actually, in fact, most people that are born on the planet right now, like, were born into unconsciousness, right? This is kind of like a super, super new thing for, a mother to be conscious enough to be communicating, and also taking on that responsibility to create a stargate of absolute love. And so that this process has been clearing all of this fear and the imposing energies of domination and control on my body, literally physically clearing out this fear and pain that has been stored in the cervix, so that my daughter can enter into the world through the cervix, through a pure energy of divine love, instead of fear and pain. And of course, this is just a metaphor, right? We can create physical babies, but the majority of the time, anytime, at all the time, energy is flowing through our body, we are creating. And so this is why it's so important. It's just that, there's extra motivation now. I'm extra motivated to clear all of this pain out of my cervix, because a literal person's about to come through it. But we are always, again, energy is always flowing through us, and we are always, literally creating a reality for all babies and all humans and all of life on this planet. Whew. So, really, what we're doing here together over the next weeks together is deep diving and clearing out all of the pain, and fear that might be stored in our body. A lot of it has coagulated around the womb and the cervix, right? And this is what is blocking us from anchoring many of those brilliant ideas, projects, and businesses that we've been kind of dreaming about for a long time. We'll talk about how the different chakras oscillate in different frequencies at different speeds. Whew, okay, so let's see. All right, let's see. Ashley says, I was curious as far as transgender goes, which is being equally balanced with feminine and masculine energy, where one's headstone may be if they're confused on their orientation. So I'm confused about what it's saying. And I feel like a lot of this confusion, again, comes from confusing the words male and female and masculine and feminine. When we say male or female, we're purely talking about the vessel. Do you have a vagina or a penis? Very simple. There are certain beings that are born that have both parts, very rare. Certain Native American cultures would say that those are emanations of certain unique traits of the soul or unique experiences that soul has chosen to experience in that lifetime. So when we say transgender, I think usually it's actually talking about a person who was born into a male body but wants to transition into a female body, or one that is a female body that wants to transition into a male body. And that actually is only made possible by modern medical system that has absolute no regard for the spirit whatsoever. So very complicated subject to talk about, right? But I feel like the most important thing for us to do is make a distinction between feminine and masculine, female and male, because being a female with a vagina, I have both feminine and masculine energy inside me, right? Those two actually can't exist without the other. And the split of the two energies, for example, the feminine energy of, let's say, sleep, right? We're absolutely resting, totally in. But even in sleep, there is the heart beating, masculine energy, right? Blood pumping, movement. So they're so intrinsically connected to each other that, like, usually every emanation of feminine energy has masculine qualities inside of it. And every emanation of masculine energy has feminine qualities inside of it. So because our society, we're not taught about this whatsoever, it's very easy for children to be confused. And it says, do you feel as well it's a hijacking system put in place for the youth? Absolutely. There's been a huge push and agenda for this. It's especially confusing if you add into the reality that, certain vaccines have fetal cells from both female and male fetuses. So we're literally injecting children with fetal cells of the opposite gender on top of the chemical warfare, the GMO food that we're eating. Our consciousness is intertwined with our physical body, and if our physical body is inundated by hormones, how can our consciousness even know what is ourself, right? So very, very deep, complicated discussions. However, we're here to talk about the anchoring of the original templates. And when people say priestess or goddess, it's quick to jump to an image of this like white flowing gown and flowers in the head and, the whole 9 yards. And that is one beautiful emanation or expression of that energy. But when we talk about the original Divine Mother frequencies, it's not any superficial visualization of what female or feminine is. It is a very profoundly deep organic connection to life, and that's all it is, right? The original Divine Mother frequency is our super deep, profound connection to life itself. This responsibility, this connection, this reverence, this appreciation for beauty, for life. So we connect in with the truth of that. The truth of that can look like anything. It can look like a tomboy. It could look like, a beautiful dress. It could look like, might want to wear a mermaid tail for all I care. But the truth is how you feel. How do we feel about ourselves? Do we feel dignified? Do we feel empowered? Do we feel an absolute love for this planet and its creatures? Do we understand our role and our responsibility and the power that we have to be stewards over that creation? That is our connection to the original Divine Mother frequencies, that when those frequencies are anchored, the confusion is just going to start to melt away because we will not be giving birth to confusion. Nothing that we are not birthing will be here. Okay. Whew. So I'm going to ground this energy a little bit here. She says, I was always confused on this confusion. Sarah says, from what I've been around, it's a lot of confusion from what we grew up around. My friend is transitioning because they felt the males they grew up around were weak, and they got taught that they are bad via their own father and trauma and etc. Keep dreaming of a fairy dancing around trees and buzzing with the bees. Also a wolf howling at the moon. Yeah, I would say that there is definitely a lot of confusion. I encourage anyone to be themselves. If you are a male-bodied being and you feel like wearing a dress, that is great. It's just that the very nature of transition is I feel like without understanding even how pharmaceuticals already interact with the body from many plant, that's actually another whole discussion, because when we are in full connection with our organic somatic body, we start to feel that our cells have an intelligence and that they are of conscious resonance, and that certain let's say chemicals or additives and different GMOs, they interact with our somatic body and changes the way that consciousness and light flows through the body. So actually, a lot of pharmaceuticals, when I tune into this, like through remote viewing, a lot of pharmaceuticals actually distort the ecological balance of the planet. And I'm not sure if this was done consciously, even though I'm sure, the astral beings that initiated this whole process are very aware. 99.90% of the people that are actually involved are not aware. Like, they are actually believing that they are making medicine for people to heal them, that the vaccines are actually going to help people. Like, the humans that are doing these things actually believe that. But people that do take prescription medication over a long time that are not consciously working with the medications and their body's capabilities of ingesting and processing it, oftentimes have severe genetic and morphogenetic distortions in their body. And if they were to participate in any sort of plant medicine ceremony, they usually have a really hard time purging interdimensional parasites that have woven through the energy body. And so we can imagine what, a lifetime of hormones could do to somebody energetically, and what that would do as the soul is coming in and exiting the body, right? I mean, this is the level of awareness that humanity has been wiped of, which makes any of this seem normal. This ridiculous stuff, GMOs and um, pharmaceuticals and etc. Okay, so Catherine, I'm tuning in and pushing this energy through for you. Just let me know if you feel the shifts. Whew. So I'm very grateful that all of you are here, that all of you felt a resonance with this energy that's coming through. Because, it is one of anchoring the organic living life matrix, which has been really heavily degraded in this false reality. And I just want to exaggerate too how helpful and how much it's going to help the balancing of this whole planet by just all of us truly anchoring into this organic energy. Because again, we're going to be, all of life is always coming back into balance, right? And it's just so that right now the imbalance is so massive that it's feeling like it's going to be a really hard job. But knowing that we are the most powerful force of creation on this planet, we're in alignment, we're an embodiment of the most powerful force of creation on this planet, that when we are in balance, uh, whew, aw. So Jennifer says, my son is 16 and wants to transition to a female. It is so heavy on my heart and hard to know how to handle. I'm just gonna send so much love to you, Jennifer, and know that, like, we bring our children into the world, but we don't create them, right? We don't mold them. And that a lot can happen between now and he's a fully formed adult that will make his own decisions. So one of the things that happens when we really start to anchor in the original templates for ourselves is that our reality begins to morph. And that if we in our life are feeling like, our husbands aren't helping us enough, or they don't understand us, or, we're not being appreciated at work and whatnot, that all of that can very miraculously just all of a sudden be very different if certain energies shift inside of us. Because again, the woman is actually really the source of life, very viscerally. I'm not talking about like hocus pocus energetically or spiritually or whatever, like literally, physically, life force energy is flowing through your body. Betsy says, maybe take him to see an indigenous person to explain Two-Spirit and how it's okay to dress as female. Hard to determine if his soul wants to experience it or if it's manipulation. Great idea. Yeah, I feel like the best thing that we can share with him, because I have spoken to him, he's a very spirited and sensitive and kind person. And it's just that the society absolutely gives no education on masculine and feminine energy and how it exists in all of us and how we're all a spectrum of those energies, and that there's different ways to honor those energies and different ways to also honor our vessel, right? I have also known many people who decide to transition because there are past life traumas that is why they ended up being the gender that they are to begin with, and then they kind of run away from that by becoming the opposite gender because it's too hard or it's too painful or it's too scary. I don't particularly feel like that's the case here, though. Whew. Yeah, and I feel like we have very little idea of what's happening. Like, my closest, like the way that I can perceive the reality is if I had a connection into it. And so my brother, he's 15, and when I go home to visit them, I get to kind of crawl into his consciousness and see, what the technology and what the programming is doing to them. And it's really quite scary. A lot of the video games and videos that they're watching online, a lot of it is very satanic. It's very much getting them, used to a certain frequency, and they're starting so young. So all of these things can only be shifted if we really come into our embodiment, into our grounded presence, right? How are we going to put an end to all of that if we can't even, be in a state of financial sovereignty, energetic sovereignty? That's the first step. So while all those big ideas and big things and big missions can be flying around in our higher chakras where time moves really fast, right? There's also no time where everything exists all at once. And that is true up here, but that isn't true down here. For example, over here, I'm connected to Prince, the singer, and Beyonce, and, Rudolph Steiner. We're all one. But in the physical body, they are not here right now. Okay? Yeah, so for those of you who are younger, who have, played video games and stuff, it is good to meditate and to sense the different frequencies and geometries that are present in the consciousness. Because again, there have been a lot of cartoons that were created with very heinous agendas behind them. Even that one that's popular lately, what's that called again? I can't remember right now. Minions. No, there's one that's like kind of for like older teenagers. It has like this grandpa. Brian, what's that cartoon called again? Rick and Morty. It was literally created by two pedophiles who also made pornographic cartoons about pedophilia. So, that's the vibration that's going into these cartoons. Airbenders is great. Anyway, you can kind of feel it, with these things. I actually haven't really watched Adventure Time or any of those things. Very sensitive system. Okay. So Catherine says, if we take a pharmaceutical, in order to assimilate it more efficiently, do we have to tune into it and send loving, healing thoughts to it in order for it to be efficient and not harmful? Yeah, I would do two things. The first thing is, send energy healing to the capsules, and specifically communicate with any plant consciousness that had been damaged through the creating of the pharmaceutical, because a lot of them do come from plants at some point down the line of creation. And then I would also clear out any residual residue from the people that touched it, and the people that were creating it, and the machines that were creating it. And then after the clearing, I would communicate with your cellular structure and just, maybe hold it, and allow your body to feel, what's inside of that pharmaceutical, and just give your body a heads up and just tell your body, hey, I'm about to like take this thing, do your best and just send some energy to that. So I would do both. Mm-hmm. Do. Anxiety coming through the solar plexus. Okay, so okay. Okay, so there's going to be quite a bit of supportive material for this week's transmission, because I feel like we really went with a very transmission full class this time. There is a lot of tools that are here to support any difficult energies that might be arising. I felt like it was really important for us to emphasize on what the point is of all of this. Like, this isn't just a business for me. This isn't just teaching some class for me. This is like, what we're doing here. Like, I love this planet so much. I love this universe so much. And it's about us coming into a place of empowerment. I love all of you so much. So it's so much about, all of us moving through this journey together, of processing all of this stuff. Like, I'm tired of feeling of the healing, of clearing stuff. Like, I'm ready to feel strength in every step and feel supported in, my weaving of magic and the restoring of order on this planet. And it starts inside. But there's so much goodness and creation we're going to experience here just when we really devote ourselves to moving through all the stuff that needs to get moved through. Like, we're just not going to beat around the bush anymore. So all of the tools I'm going to put in a folder. There are other workshops as well that really go into multidimensional energy work. We didn't really get to touch on a lot of that like I had planned to, because this energy just like kind of came in and took over. It was like, I was like, okay, well, I already have this recorded, so I will provide it for you in the recording for this week's on the forum. And then I'm also going to put up there several frequencies that we can work with in removing implants, and also some Qigong videos, and also maybe a video about tapping. So all the techniques and tools will be there in the course forum. And Whew. Unpredictable how things will go. So Alina, I feel like your throat thing is connected to the womb thing, of course. And I do sense that there's quite a bit of fear and resistance because, I mean, I've worked with you and there's a lot of things that you've experienced that are quite difficult to swallow. And I feel like you consciously and intellectually know what those are, but we haven't really gone in to feel it yet. You know, like we can like think like, oh, I got robbed last week, but like we could know that we got robbed last week, but we might not have gone into our nervous system to really feel like how we felt. That makes sense? So I feel like going through the materials and, you know, doing the meditation is going to help, but you have to prepare yourself and know that you're connected to the divine and know that you're loved and know that you're safe. And only after you're feeling really comfortable in that space will you be able to go inside and feel the things that are, you know, perhaps too overwhelming for the surface level awareness to be aware of most of the time. We do have a very exciting class coming next week about the throat. We're going to be doing a lot of singing. So I think I'm actually going to create like a track and then I'm going to invite everybody to record over it and then we're going to put it all together like a choir. It's going to be so fun. Monica says, Z, is there a final bolstering for our immune systems we can do so we can ripple out against viruses being spread around the planet right now? Fear-based virus, pranayama. Pranayama is great. Yeah. So I am a firm believer that viruses and diseases do not exist beyond certain frequency bands of existence. And that is why the majority of people on earth are kept in a state of fear and separation and lack. So our greatest sense of immune is to work on anchoring our original frequencies of self. And of course, we can always send assistance to the immune system, which, you know, you do by just picturing love. You know, they say that if you hug somebody, then it boosts your immune system. Well, you can definitely hug yourself and get the same benefits. Meditate on peace, meditate on gratitude, meditate on the miracle of being a woman at this time. Angela's gone to give herself hugs. The cheapest flu shot you can have. All right. Does anyone have any questions for this session today? Okay. Hi, Ashley. Love you. All right. Okay, so let's just do a little formal grounding here. So just gonna open up the feet portals, allow any excess energy to flow through into the earth. Sending gratitude to the medicine spirits that were here with us today, gratitude to our higher self, gratitude to everyone that showed up. Oh, and source of creation, we're commanding that all vibrations, not of love, not of our own soul's essence, are clearing from our bodies and field, from all dimensions and all of time, space, and all of their genetics and all parallel selves, returning to source to be reconfigured into the light. Clear. And source of creation, we are commanding for all floating, fragmented parts of ourself, all of our energy that might be floating outside of ourself in all dimensions and all of time space, be returned to our body, washed clear with the love light of source, reintegrated into our body through the higher self and high heart, all the way through our body, through the feet, filling up all spaces. Okay, so I'm just thinking about how I had this planned thing I wanted to do today, and it totally did not happen the way that I thought it would or wanted it to happen. But clearly, this medicine needed to come through because, um, what we're going through together, it's not an intellectual thing, but a very visceral and energetic thing. And as long as we move through all the steps and get that divine, sovereign, mama energy embodied, how we get there is not really super specific, but I will provide all of the materials on our forum group by the end of the day today. Oh, and I will also be sending out an email this week for anyone who has signed up for the extra support with the sessions. I wanted to wait till we did today's session to open up the session booking. So I will send you a link to book the sessions. Yeah, that is all for now. May this energy of opening and integration continue to come through your body, your consciousness, and fill you up with the divine truth of your power and love and genius, and rightful place as womb carriers on this planet. I will see you on Thursday. now.